Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I will be reviewing the Torrential Cannon Theme deck. Before I get on to reviewing it, this deck is worse than Relentless Flame, despite having a type advantage. I don't know why, but it's really funny to me. Starting off the deck is 2 Blastoise. It has a really powerful ability, Powerful Squall. It's not a joke, by the way. Once during your turn before you attack, you may look at the top 6 cards of your deck and attach any number of water energy cards you find there to your Pokemon in any way you like. Shuffle the other cards back to your deck. This is really good for energy acceleration, however you don't do more damage. Blastoise and Charizard still do self-damage though, and its attack, Hydro Tackle, is very powerful when you can get it off. It does 150 damage and does 30 damage to itself. You don't want to be using this thing too often, unless you're sure that it can get a kill. Blastoise is a pretty good starting card and has some energy acceleration going for it. Overall, I think Blastoise is the best card in this deck. Next up is War Turtle. For 2 energy, you do 30 damage, which is basically average. For 3 water energy, you do 70 damage. It's a decent attack mid-game, however you want to go into Blastoise as soon as you can. It has an above average HP stat, which makes me really happy. But yeah, War Turtle is just fine as it is. The final Pokemon of the Blastoise line is Squirtle. Tackle for 10 damage is fine. Rain Splash for 1 water energy and 1 colorless for 20 damage. It's actually not that bad of an early game attack, however you don't want to be using it. The next stage 2 evolution is Pidgeot. For 2 energy, you do 60 damage, and your opponent switches their active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. This is basically a boss's orders, but in attack form. And for 3 energy, you use the attack Spin Storm. Your opponent puts their active Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your hand. This is really annoying if you can get it set up. I think Pidgeotto is better than this. However, Pidgeot does have its uses, whether you don't have an alternate attacker, or if you just need to get one thing out of your worries. Pidgeot's pretty good. However, you may not want to play this card at all. This deck plays 2 Pidgeotto. Yes, I'm serious, this isn't a theme deck. Once during your turn before you attack, you may look at the top 2 cards of your deck and put one of them into your hand. Put the other card on the bottom of your deck. Now, this isn't an amazing draw supporter. However, for the theme deck format, this is why Soaring Storm is really good. Because in Soaring Storm, you have a 1-2-3 line of Pidgeot, Pidgeotto, and Pidgey. You can get your cards out if you can with airmail, supposing you even can. And you can also be really annoying with Pidgeot. That's one of the reasons why Soaring Storm is the best theme deck that Pokemon has made so far. And I'm glad the Torrential Cannon kind of started that whole thing. So Pidgeotto is a really good draw supporter. I think this card is the 2nd best card in the theme deck because the draw support alone makes it great. Next up is Free Pidgey. It's an alright draw supporter for what it has, and for 2 energy it does 20 damage with Gust. This card is meant to be evolved into Pidgeotto, or if you're really brave, Pidgeot. But that's basically it. It's just a card to be evolved, really. The final evolution card of this deck is Golduck. Before I review Golduck, I actually think that it's the best attacker. Swim is a really good attack, and Amnesia is really annoying. Now, it's not the best card in this deck, but I think it's the most consistent attacker that you want to use. Amnesia for 20 damage. Choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks. That Pokemon cannot use that attack during your opponent's next turn. This is really annoying early game, supposing you can get it off, and it's actually not that bad mid to late game because you can actually use it. And Swim for 90 damage for 3 energy. If any of your opponent's Pokemon have any water energy attached to them, you may do 90 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon instead of their active Pokemon. So if your opponent just has 1 water energy, you can hit the bench for 90, which is really powerful. Swim can get the job done. It's not the best attack, but what it can do, it's great in. Golduck is by far the most consistent attacker in this deck. The final card that isn't a far-fetched is Psyduck. This can be boosted with Kukui for 30 damage, however, I doubt you would really want to use it for that reason. But its attack actually is pretty good. Headache for 10 damage, it costs 1 energy, so it's really efficient. You flip a coin. If heads, your opponent cannot play any trainer cards from their hand during the next turn. This is a really good attack early game. I actually think that Psyduck is a pretty good contender, one of the best cards of this deck. I'm actually not kidding. Psyduck is really good early game for Disruption. Ending off the Pokemon in this deck is Farfetch'd. Now, in my Relentless Flame video, I did one thing that I shouldn't have. Tool Buster has a use. Before doing damage, discard all Pokemon tool cards from your opponent's active Pokemon. If you discard a Pokemon tool card in this way, just attack does 70 more damage, so you can do 90 damage for 1 energy. This is good for countering Laser Focus decently enough. It doesn't really have too many uses after that, so it's not the best card in this deck. However, it has some pretty niche uses, and it's actually not bad. And collect for 1 energy, you draw 2 cards. It's a pretty good draw supporter and an okay early game attack. All the cards that were in the Relentless Flame theme deck are in the Torrential Cannon theme deck. I'll go over them shortly. However, if you just want to watch this video, I'll go over them. So you have 2 Cynthias. You shuffle your hand to your deck, then draw 6 cards. This is a really efficient draw supporter. Before it got rotated out of the format, this was one of the best cards in the game. I'm actually serious. But jokes aside, you shuffle your hand into your deck, you draw 6 cards. It's a really efficient draw supporter, really fun in this deck, and it's crazy that theme decks are now just really good. 2 Copycat. You shuffle your hand into your deck and draw a card for each card in your opponent's hand. This is really good if you want to get a bigger hand, or if you just want to get rid of a really bad hand. The uses of this card can depend, so if your opponent has a really big hand, like at least 5 or more cards, then you want to use Copycat. However, if your opponent has like 4 or like lower than that, then you don't really want to be using this thing as much as you would want to anywhere else. I'm gonna be completely honest. The use that Brock's Grit has in Relentless Flame is way bigger than it has in Torrential Cannon. Because Relentless Flame needs Brock's Grit in order to get more energy. Brock's Grit is just there if you discard it a lot. But Brock's Grit still has its uses. You shuffle 6 in any combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards from your discard pile into your deck. This is really efficient for when you don't want to get Pokemon back, or if you just want to get energy back. It combos decently well with Blastoise as well. However, that's the only thing I can really think of that Brock's Grit has a use. It can get Pokemon back, but you really want to be using this thing for Blastoise more than anything else. You play 2 Professor Kukui. You draw 2 cards. During this turn, your Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage. It's a really good setup with Blastoise, Golduck, Pidgeot. It's just a really good kill setup, and it's actually not a bad draw supporter. I think that this card is decently good. This deck plays 2 Pokemon Fan Club. You search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Then you shuffle your deck. This is a really good early game draw engine. It's not a draw engine, it's a supporter. But it's a really good way to find basic Pokemon when you don't have too many on your bench. If you have Pokemon Fan Club, use it on your first 5 turns, because you'll have a really good game after that. I'm actually not kidding. I've played this theme deck in Relentless Flame, and Pokemon Fan Club has always saved me when I needed it. So Pokemon Fan Club, one of the best support cards in this deck. However, it's not the best. The final support card is 2 How. Of course it's here. You draw 3 cards. That's really about it. Now we're moving on to item cards. You play 2 Switch. You switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Very good way to save Pokemon when you need it, and a good way to retreat without wasting 3 or 2 energy. Switch is one of the most essential cards in any Pokemon deck. So, you should have at least 3 in a competitive deck. However, having 2 isn't that bad either. I think that this card is pretty good for what it can do. Next up is 2 Nest Balls. Search your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it onto your bench. Then you shuffle your deck. This is a very good way to find basic Pokemon if you don't have a Pokemon fan club, because you can play 2, and you essentially just play a Pokemon fan club, really. However, Nest Ball is really good early game because you can get so many basic Pokemon out, and that's its only real use. It's really good when it's needed. This deck plays 2 Timer Balls. Flip 2 coins for each heads. Search your deck for an evolution Pokemon. Reveal it and put it into your hand. You shuffle your deck. This is really good in the mid and late game, as I said in the Relentless Flame review. However, it has its own uses. You can get Blastoises, Wartortles, Pidgeotos, Pidgeots, Golducks. Timer Ball is actually really good in this deck. I'm really happy that it's here. This deck plays 20 Water Energy. It combos really well on the Blastoise and Pidgeotto and other cards like that. However, that's basically it. You just have 20 Water Energy to use. It's the only energy type, so that's why there's a lot. The best Pokemon in this deck is Blastoise. It has a really good attack and ability. That's the only thing I really need to say. But the self-damage does suck, so be careful while you're using Blastoise, because you're going to lose HP, and your opponent might kill you in the next turn afterwards, because Blastoise will have like 130 HP after that. The worst card is Farfetch'd. It's only a draw supporter. That's the only thing it can do. It's a mediocre attacker, and its ability Collect isn't that good either. I keep talking about the early, mid, and late game, so I may as well explain what it is. I will be showing you how I think you should play the early game, mid game, and late game. My opinion may not be correct, but I will try to be the best I can while remaining factual and disagreeing with some of my own opinions. Early game, these are the 3 cards you want to have: Squirtle, Pidgey, and Farfetch'd. You can also have Psyduck too, but Psyduck is more of a mid-game thing. Squirtle is evolving the Blastoise, Pidgey is evolving the Pidgeotto or Pidgeot, and Farfetch'd as an early draw supporter and an attacker. However, that's about it really. The mid-game is actually very important. You'll have Pidgeotto, which you may want to stick with for the whole game, because its ability is great. Wartortle is evolving a Blastoise, so you'll most likely get it by then. However, don't bet that. And Golduck is your most consistent attacker in this deck, so you want to be using it very often when you can. Your mid-game is going to want to be very consistent, because if you're not consistent, then you're not going to win. The late game, you want Blastoises for energy acceleration and damage, you want Pidgeots for spin storm, Pidgeotos for draw support, and Golducks for attacking. Your late game wants to be pretty self-centered around Blastoise and Golduck, because these 2 are the only real attackers you want to be using. You want to be only using Pidgeot if you have to, because you want to be using Pidgeotto more than anything else, really. However, this doesn't stop the late game from being very destructive if you can get the right setup. The best support card is Cynthia. I'm pretty sure we all know why as I explained it, but it's a really good draw supporter, and it's very consistent. That's the only thing I have to say. However, the fact that there's 2 Cynthia is pretty cool. The best item card is Nest Ball. It's a really good early game setup, and you can actually do some cool stuff with it, like comboing it in the Pokemon fan club, other things like that. Nest Ball allows unexpected variety that is very cool in a theme deck. I reviewed the score in grade 3 last time, so I'm going to try to keep it short. However, on a score basis, 1 means that it sucks, 10 means that it's basically perfect and you can actually win standard games with it. No theme deck is going to be a 10, however, 9s and 8s are really good. In the grades, F is unplayable, while S means it will always win unless you have a very good setup, know how to counter Soaring Storm, for example, or if you're very clever. Now, what do I give this deck in terms of a score? I give it an 8 out of 10. What it can do, it's pretty good at. This deck is basically just a worse Unseen Depths and Soaring Storm combined. However, the cons that this deck has are somewhat unique and the pros are unique too, but overall this deck isn't the greatest. What do I give it in terms of a grade? I give it a B. It's basically your average deck that can win. Nothing too crazy, well, nothing bad either. It's not the best thing in the world, which kinda disappoint me, as Blastoise, especially Squirtle, is one of my favorite Pokemon. It's just, if this deck was better, I would play it more often. I talked about the pros and cons, so what do I mean by that? Well, the pros are, you have decent energy acceleration, good draw support, you actually get some pretty good damage, and you basically have the same item cards and supporters as Relentless Flame. The cons though? The cons are, you do self-damage, you don't really need Pidgeot, which is important, and if you're not consistent and you don't get the right cards, then you're not gonna win. Like, I'm actually honest. Like, if one of your Blastoise is prized, you're not winning. Like, I'm not kidding. If Blastoise or Golduck is prized, then just give up. You're not gonna win. I'm sorry, but I actually just have to be honest. Blastoise and Golduck are basically the building blocks for this deck, really. This is the Torrential Cannon deck list. There's a lot of things to cover, however, what you do have is great. Thank you guys for watching, thanks for the support, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.